The Rocketeer and Betty have entered the secret sanctuary. Let's take a look. Hey statue collectors. Way back in 1982, there was a small comic book publisher called Pacific Comics. And in April of that year, they came out with a new title called Star Slayer, drawn by fan favorite Mike Grell. A pretty good comic. But what really caught people's attention was the backup story that started in issue number 2 called The Rocketeer. In that comic, the Rocketeer had a girlfriend named Betty. And the artist on the series, Dave Stevens, a phenomenal artist, based her character on a 1950s pinup artist named Betty Page. Betty Page already had a small cult following at that time, but based on The Rocketeer, first the comic book, and then later the movie put out by Disney, her popularity exploded. And I think she's more of a household name today because of what Dave Stevens started in the Rocketeer comic way back in 1982. So now we have this statue put out by Mondo. And it's a pretty good statue. It has a couple of problems, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. It's just over 13 inches tall. It weighs about 5 pounds. It has a base that will remind some people of the Tweeterhead Harley Quinn that came out recently, where the figures are supported by the exhaust coming out of a jetpack. And I don't think there's going to be any structural problems with that. Whenever you see a base like this, you're tempted to think about, well, is this going to lean over time? This is not a super heavy statue. Like I said, it's just around 5 pounds. And I'm certain that there's got to be a metal rod in there that's supporting that base. The problems with the statue, number one, is likeness. Of course, the Rocketeer is fully masked. I have no problems with the Rocketeer material. This statue is actually based on a pinup done by Dave Stevens many years ago. The Rocketeer figure on the statue is identical to the pinup I mentioned, including the raised gun and the position of his legs, the jetpack. Everything is the same. Betty is pretty much the same, right down to the dangling high heel shoe on her foot. The only difference is her clothing. She's wearing a blue dress in that pinup rather than what you see here. So her likeness to me is the problem. This does not look like a Dave Stevens Betty Page to me, nor does it look like the Jennifer Connelly Betty from the Rocketeer movie. So it's a little bit of a disappointment. The second problem, which I'll show you in a moment when I do close-ups, is that the skin tone of her face does not match the skin tone of her body. It's a little bit darker and more rich. And, you know, I don't care what color it is as long as it's consistent throughout the statue. But in this case, it's her face, and also her left arm is a little bit darker than the body as well. So that's a concern. And I'm going to show that to you right now. Let's do some close-ups. All right, here we go. So first I'll show you, and I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick it up, but the skin tone on the face is just darker than her body. And I'm noticing other collectors are making the same comment on Facebook today. And then the other concern that I mentioned, the likeness. What were they going for? Were they trying to do a Dave Stevens? Was there some legal entanglement that prevented them from doing one very much like Dave Stevens? I don't know. But I want a Dave Stevens Betty. So I'm a little disappointed in that regard. The sculpt, besides that, is it's very nice. I love the little touches, you know, like I said, the dangling high heel shoe That's really cool, and it's a pretty strong magnet there too. The base is nice. The color on the base is not quite as rich as the images we saw on the website when we placed our order, but it still looks good. And the paint application is really good, other than that problem with her face. But you can look, the details are pretty nice. I mean, even down to her fingernail polish. It's quite good. Give you a rear view. The whole concept of the exhaust being the base, I think, is kind of cool. Again, we sort of saw it with Harley as well. The detail on her hair is pretty well done. As far as scale, it's maybe halfway between 1/6 and 1/7. So it'll probably fit fairly well with either scale. Give you a close-up of his helmet, which I think they did a good job on. There is a switch-out head for her. Where she's looking straight ahead rather than down. So I'm curious, which portrait do you guys like more? I mean, it's an attractive portrait, but it doesn't look like Bettie Page. Give you another spin here. This was $200 for the regular, which I think is still available, and $205 for this exclusive, which is sold out. And the exclusive is the extra head. The extra head being the first one I had on, where she's looking down at the ground. Let me show you that again. This one. So, let me know in the comments, what do you think about her face, about the portrait itself? Should it look like Bettie Page as it did in the comic? Or am I being too harsh on this statue? And also, what do you think about the different shades of skin color between her face and her body? And also, which portrait do you prefer? I'm curious. So there's the Rocketeer and Betty from MondoTees.com. It's a nice statue. Other than those few reservations that I have, I'm pretty happy with it. There aren't a lot of Rocketeer statues out there, so I guess beggars can't be choosers. I forgot to mention earlier, the edition size on the exclusive is 1,155, and I don't think that they've released the edition size on the regular edition, which is still available on their website. So, I hope you liked the video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, and I will see you guys on Facebook. I'll see you on the message boards. Have a great night. Take care.